Hi everyone, I'm Chris from Salesforce, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the research and the work that we've done for the messaging and journeys, i.e. the Marketing Cloud solution, when looking at how DHSC can leverage this technology and this platform and pivot towards a strategic communications platform. Now, there was quite a bit of pre-reading that we shared before this. I'm aware that this is a recording for those that are coming into it later. So the current solution that you are operating within various parts of Test and Trace and DHSC has built a number of features for things like segmentation, which uses the MuleSoft platform, otherwise known as RTTS. There's also things like content curation that takes place within systems like BSA. And what this kind of means is that you've actually built a lot of the foundational functionality of what would be referred to as a digital marketing hub or a digital communication hub. You've built a lot of those things, and now you're having to maintain them yourselves rather than buying off the shelf and buying a Gartner recognized leader, which is what Salesforce actually is. We are top of the multi-channel marketing hub quadrant and have been for a number of years. The current solution for delivering communications is called gov.notify. Now, this is a relatively cheap and in sometimes free way of actually sending out communications via email, SMS, and direct mail. Because of that, it is quite inflexible. It doesn't give you any of the activity history, any of the insights into the communications that you're sending, and the actual inbox placement that we've seen for things like email is quite low, as well as the throughput, i.e. the ability to send large numbers of communications in a short space of time, whether that be SMS or email, is also very limited. It also doesn't offer the feature to mix channels together, so you can't have a omni-channel journey which covers both email, SMS and telephone, for instance. Now, what that means is that you're not actually able to prove out and understand, is it better, do we have a better outcome of results, and do we have a more cost-effective solution if we SMS people, in this case for international arrivals, reminding them the day before and the day of to complete their PCR test on time and submit the results, versus having somebody call them. Now, we know there's a gigantic price difference between those two solutions. On average, you're looking at £4 to £5 for a telephone call, and an SMS message is less than 2p. This type of solution would be easily achievable with Marketing Cloud, and we could do it within a few weeks. We also, as well as having numbers of features like delivering language support, dynamic content, A/B testing of messaging, we can also do things like integrated videos that are more informative and you can click into them as well. There's so many features that we as an organization, because we already have the foundational elements locked down, we've been doing it for so many years, we can then bring all of this additional functionality that you can actually just take off the shelf. We also offer a franchise model, and this franchise model is typically seen a lot within the automotive industry. It's also seen quite a bit within restaurants as well. And the idea is that a headquarters creates a number of assets, and those assets are then provided in a WYSIWYG interface, or what you see is what you get interface, which then means that you have complete brand control. They're not using a complex platform in order to send the comms, and you also create a centralized database. So when they upload their data to add people to journeys or to send out SMS or email, whatever it may well be, you have control of that data. So it's really creating similar to the gov.notify platform, it's creating a community where organizations that you partner with can come and leverage your amazing assets, your great functionality, without having to be experts in the system, and giving you complete control. And that's something that we have that's called distributed marketing, which we could easily look to in the future as you start to build out the UK HSA use cases. For Salesforce products, the benefit of being part of Salesforce is that we have off-the-shelf connectors for almost everything. And many of those are bi-directional with their data flowing both ways. And we have things like Salesforce Actions, which we'll come onto in the system. But that essentially is us being able to go into the CRM, or the ITS platform as it's known, and create cases. And those cases could be linking into an auto dialer and going through to a call center, or create tasks or update the information, create that central 360 repository. And another thing to consider is that Salesforce can help implement the entire solution, or we can help a Salesforce certified partner to implement it with our advisory services. And as well, we also have a managed campaign service. So if you would like us to help you manage your campaigns and take away the stress and the complexity of that, we can also offer that as a feature too. And our modular platform makes it very easy to adopt other areas of the functionality. So that could be integrating things like advertising, or looking at WhatsApp as a channel, or integrating with the NHS apps. We can do all of those things from within the one singular platform. And there's also a thing called CDP, which we'll come on to at the end. And that's Customer Data Platform, which is a new way of being able to centralize your data and to understand it better, to create content management frameworks, and to activate that data elsewhere. In order to better demonstrate this, we've actually created a little proof of concept, and we've built out a CRM instance called VacForce, which has quarantine management services data in it, and we've stood it up and connected it through to the Marketing Cloud itself. Now, these are two separate systems with an off-the-shelf connector. That off-the-shelf connector means that data flows automatically every 15 minutes in order for us to create a sync between those two platforms. And we can see here we have a number of different data assets around here. So things like the mobile data that's coming in, we could have chat data, and we can also have things coming in from RTTS, MuleSoft, as well as the VacForce demo. So if we click through and take a look at this data, we have data sources here, and one of the data sources is VacForce. Now, these fields are coming across automatically. We've synchronized over 2,000 records, and if I were to create a new object in the CRM, then I would very quickly be able to come through, tick it, and that will then bring that data across into my platform. So it's very, very simple for us to have a flexible data model to bring over this information. And that's happening automatically. It's a very simple setup for us to do. So all the information that we have in here, and we've actually built out some ITS data. So within the CRM, we've built out some custom fields for scheduled arrival date, whether this person is going to be self-isolating, quarantining, and we've also created some logic which relates to the country of origin and the RAG status of that country. So if I were to come through into this section and force it to say, actually, this person's coming from Portugal, hit save, this is a centrally maintained list which is automatically changing the RAG status of this individual. So this will come through now, and you can see this has come through now, and it's changed it to be amber. We can also see that there's things around here for PCR test date and the PCR test result. Now this is really important for the purpose of our demonstration, because we're going to be querying this data and it's going to be informing the decisions that we make. Quickly back to the contact builder, if I search for RAG, you can see here that the country RAG is going to be coming through, along with the PCR test date and the PCR test results and any of these other bits of information that we need to have. Now, content's built directly into the platform. It's super important to make sure that it's mobile optimized and customizable. Now, here you can see that I've actually gone through and built out some SMS reminders for the PCR tests. And as a result of constructing them in the platform, I'm able to insert dynamic content, which is using this data that you have to drive the information actually within the communication itself. And I'm also able to do things like create dynamic content for the emails. So you can see that in this communication here that I've built, I have a rule in place. It's allowing me to change the content based upon whether they're in an amber country. See here, campaign member, country RAG, and red, green. So I'm able to change the content, whether that's email or whether that's SMS. I can start to modify this content. And what I can also do is create mobile optimized versions straight away, which is really, really handy, because when it comes to opening things on mobile, you want to just provide the absolutely necessary information. When it's a desktop, we can get away with putting more information in, but if it's mobile, we may want to change that. And it's all done very, very simply by coming through block settings, hide this on a mobile device. That's gone. Go to desktop, the information's there. Back to mobile, it's gone. It's that straightforward. And that's the benefit, again, of having a Marketing Cloud doing these communications. Now, once you've built these comms, you are able to send them as ad hoc communications. So I could have my data list and push out an SMS message, have my data list push out an email. But the real power comes from when we start to look at these within journeys. Now, a journey is essentially a communication program which you want to send to an individual. Now, it all begins with data sources and us opting people in to receive the communications. And what in many cases we do is we use the Salesforce data by either querying that Salesforce data, but in this case we have been using Salesforce campaigns because it makes it easier for us to show this to you. But all of these campaigns that we have for things like international arrivals, I click through and that is going to bring all people that come into this campaign into the journey that I build. And the journey that I then build can have all of these various channels that I've already covered, things like WhatsApp, SMS, email, push notifications to an app. I have flow control, so that's logic, doing random splits so that I put 50% down two different paths, weighting by an attribute, using AI to help choose the path that's going to happen. Did they open the communication? Did they not? And then the other thing that I have, which really is the kind of the secret sauce of Salesforce and why it's good to do Salesforce on Salesforce, is these Salesforce actions. So creating cases, creating tasks, adding them to campaign members, updating contacts, all of these things here. Now, for the purpose of this demo, we have actually gone through and built out a journey already for you, which is working live. So we have the international arrivals mobile versus call agent. And for this one, all I'm doing is I'm adding a contact to the campaign for IA, mobile versus call agent, and then we're splitting them 50-50. I'm testing sending a text message versus having somebody call them from the call center. And what happens at the first instance here is that I'm saying I would like to wait to send this communication until 2 days after their scheduled arrival date. And you can choose that, so we can query based upon date fields and then send out the comms directly to them. And in this case, we're doing the PCR test reminder 1, PCR test reminder 2, PCR test reminder 3. And in this case here, we're doing it again with telephone call 1, telephone call 3. The way that I measure the success of a journey is not by opens or clicks. It's actually by me saying, did these individuals complete their PCR tests on time? And the way that I can do that is by querying the data back in the system, and this one is very simple, but I'm saying that the PCR test result is not incomplete. And this will allow me to see the effectiveness of text message versus telephone call. And if I flick back into the CRM again, you can see here that this individual who's gone through this journey has 3 cases auto-logged against them. And these cases could be filtering into an auto dialer and really helping to optimize the process and the experience that an individual has. So back to the journeys. Now these are designed to be iterated, so we want to have versions 1, 2, 3 and so on. So here we have version 2, and we could say in this instance that I would like to create a join between these 2 journeys. So if somebody didn't complete their first test after receiving the text message, then I would actually like to filter them into the telephone call flow. Or I could start to test more channels with things like WhatsApp as well, or a combination of telephone calls and SMS if I felt it was necessary. The system also provides you with a number of different reporting functionalities. So you have all of the email open rates, all of the SMS engagement rates, all of those various things will come through. And they will actually log against the activity history on the contact record too. So you'll be able to see which communications were sent and whether they were engaged with or not. But we also have other reporting, and one of those is Datorama reports. Now this comes natively in the platform, and it provides you with overviews and insights into the number of communications that you're sending, the engagement rates that you have, and you can also start to see the journeys that you're operating with and the overall open rates and click-through rates. Now this is quite lacking in data for the purpose of this demo, but you can see that this will become very powerful as you start to bring all of your communications together. So that's our overview of the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I'd briefly like to touch upon now the integration between MuleSoft Marketing Cloud, or RTTS as it is known. As you can see from the screen, there are a number of channels of data. Now when the guys originally set this system up, it was designed to be able to split out data and to directly inject it into the Marketing Cloud. Right now, a number of those data streams go into BSA and into GovNotify, and you can see from this diagram that very, very quickly the team would be able to separate off their own section for Marketing Cloud and to have that data feeding directly into the platform. Again, these are the benefits of using Salesforce with Salesforce. We have off-the-shelf integrators, and we have the ability to stand up these solutions very, very quickly. If we were to look at an integration that would be sending SMS and integrating with call centers being driven from ITS, we could get this stood up within a matter of weeks. Thanks very much for your time.